My real Mormon testimony. I know for sure that the Mormon faith is a lie. This is based off of hard evidence and things that can be factually tested and proven, and not based off of feelings. None of the Mormon doctrines, such as God was once a man, man can become a god, baptisms for the dead, temple marriage, eternal progression, the pre-existence of man, 3 different heavens that men can go to after they die, etc., are taught in any way, shape, or form in the Bible when you take the Bible in proper context. Strangely enough, none of these doctrines are taught either in the Book of Mormon, which according to Mormonism is supposed to contain the fullness of the gospel. I know for sure that Joseph Smith was a false prophet. 3 of dozens of false prophecies that Joseph Smith made are contained still to this day in the Doctrine and Covenants. If you'd like to look at these 3, you can look at section 84, verses 2 through 5, section 84, verses 114 and 115, and section 111, verses 1 through 4. Joseph Smith was a total fraud, con man, and a total liar. Another way to verify this in a hard and factual way is to turn to page 41 of the Pearl of Great Price, if you're a Mormon. If you're not a Mormon, see if you can find a copy of the Pearl of Great Price somewhere and turn to page 41. On this page, you'll see 5 human-looking figures on the page. Figures 2 and 4 are very obviously female pictures. They are pictures of the Egyptian goddesses Isis and Mat. You can verify this by looking Isis and Mat up in any encyclopedia, any Egyptian book. Look up the names on the internet, do a web search or anything else. You don't need to look in any quote-unquote anti-Mormon place. Just any Egyptian source will reveal this to you plainly. Joseph Smith, however, identifies these 2 very obvious women, figures 2 and 4, as King Pharaoh and Prince of Pharaoh, which is a total fraud and a total lie. However, in the 1830s, when Joseph Smith was perpetrating this fraud, Egyptian was at the time a lost language, so he was free to pretty much tell people anything he wanted it to say, and nobody could prove him wrong, because it was right around the same time that the Rosetta Stone was being found, and they were just starting to relearn the Egyptian language. This is another study that's worth looking into also if you're interested in it. Joseph Smith further identifies figure 1, who's a picture sitting down on a chair, which could be a throne, I suppose, but it's in a chair. He identifies this picture as Abraham sitting on Pharaoh's throne. No reason in the world why the Egyptians should be drawing pictures of Abraham anyway. But if you look up the Egyptian god Osiris, you'll find that it most certainly isn't Abraham anyway. It is the Egyptian god Osiris, who is one of the very most common drawn Egyptian gods that you can find in any type of Egyptian book that you want to find. You'll typically find pictures of Osiris. You can identify the Egyptian gods usually based off of the headpieces that they wear. And so that's a sure giveaway of Osiris. When you see the headpiece, you'll see him in all kinds of different Egyptian pictures. The Egyptian goddess Mat, as in the Pearl of Great Price, has the feather in her hair. They call that the feather of righteousness. In any picture of the Egyptian goddess Mat that you'll ever find, she'll always have that feather in her hair. Sometimes they draw wings on her, and sometimes they don't. They call those, I think, the wings of righteousness or whatever. But anyway, it's just a total fraud that's easily verifiable. by comparing what's currently in the Pearl of Great Price with what's currently on the internet or in any encyclopedia or anything else. I know for sure that the current so-called prophet of the Mormon Church is a total fraud and liar. Though a very wealthy liar of a very wealthy corporation, disguised as a church. He is in a position where he certainly knows what a total con man and adulterous polygamist Joseph Smith was, which is another study worth looking into if you're a Mormon, is looking into who were the wives of Joseph Smith. Many of the wives that Joseph Smith took were married already to another man and were supposed to remain married to that man after they had married Joseph Smith. They went back home to their husbands, which, of course, the Mormon Church doesn't want you to look into or have any clue about, but it's worth digging into. Truth matters. And with knowing all these things, this so-called prophet continually wants to put forth to the Mormon people, who he's the leader over, that Joseph Smith is somehow some type of a guy that ought to be given some type of credibility, even though he knows for sure he was a fraud and a liar, and he sits himself as a fraud and a liar, playing like he's a prophet, sitting in the Mormon Church. Another thing you'll notice, just to throw out, the Mormon prophets never prophesy anything. Just something to think about and consider as you think of these guys and their titles as a prophet. I know for sure that the Book of Mormon is a totally satanic fraud. It contains 25 whole chapters plagiarized from the King James Version Bible, so you will find bits and pieces that look scriptural and that even are the Word of God plagiarized out of the Bible into the Book of Mormon. But the Book of Mormon really is basically it looks like an effort to try to one-up the Bible. I've done videos on this that you can access on my other YouTube site, Carter Family 8903, which I can no longer access. But anyway, if you want to look into that, there's all kinds of things that are easily verifiable where the Book of Mormon tries to one-up the Bible. There's something that kind of clones Noah's Ark with the Jaredite barge story. There's all kinds of people in the Book of Mormon thrown into dens of wild beasts and fiery furnaces, which is trying to one-up the Bible in its single account of Daniel being cast into the den of lions and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego being cast into a fiery furnace. But anyway, this is just some things to look into about the Book of Mormon and some things that very clearly indicate the Book of Mormon is a satanic fraud. The Mormon Church wants people to read the Book of Mormon, though, because it does look kind of biblical. Like I say, there's tons of plagiarisms from the Bible, and then you come to verses in the Book of Mormon that say things like, "No man will be angry with the words which I have written, save he shall be of the spirit of the devil." And if you start to think that any of it is the Word of God, that just kind of turns your brain right off, because you don't want to think that you're of the spirit of the devil because you're questioning the lies that are contained in the Book of Mormon. Furthermore, there's absolutely no archaeology or science or anything else that would back up in any way, shape, or form anything said in the Book of Mormon that isn't just a direct plagiarism taken straight from the Bible and put into it. Of course, the Bible can be archaeologically and scientifically backed up on all kinds of different things, and it is a historical work. It has real history contained in it. And, of course, I believe the Bible is totally reliable. Jesus Christ is totally reliable. He is not at all what the Mormons try to make him out to be. He's not a brother of Satan. He's the creator of Satan and everything that exists. You can look at John 1 through 3 to find that out. But anyway, thank you very much for your time. I think this will conclude this video. Take care.